Thanks be to God. Didn't really plan this out, but I had a thought and I just wanted to share this. One of the things I've been thinking a lot about recently since going through halfway through Exodus 90, really spending time, really contemplating comfort. Comfort. God is the God of comfort, from which all comfort flows. However, God is himself not, I should say, comfort is not God. So comfort is not needed if we have God's love. I feel very strongly about that. However, that's been really put to me as a pretty big challenge recently, because this past week, sleep has always been a big problem for me, I started using a CPAP. The real challenge for me, though, is I do not believe that the one that I have right now, the mask, is going to be the one that I will keep. So my sleep has been very, very, very poor. And just kind of that acknowledgement of, yes, I am suffering in a way. If anyone's ever been sleep deprived, it is a form of suffering, absolutely. It impacts everything. It impacts your patience. It impacts all these things. And trying to move through life with grace to handle that is a struggle. It absolutely is. So something that had come to my mind recently, and it kind of just surprised me because I never really paid attention to the specific book of the Bible. So I want to read a pretty good chunk of Lamentations chapter 3. Now, one of the reasons why I started paying attention to that one is because I went through and I wanted to make sure I was super familiar with every verse from Song of Songs, because it was pretty small and it was something in which that could be done that I believe I'd be able to carry as spiritually edifying. And looking at Lamentations 3, every verse rather short. So kind of take tiny little chunks. And I did discover that in the I guess not the lectionary, I believe it's within some of the text used for funerals. One of the readings you might select would be from Lamentations 3. So I want to read up to that point, because Lamentations, we always think it's a dark book talking about hard stuff, struggling, suffering, and it is primarily. But I want to get to a piece of hope amongst all that suffering and difficulty. And kind of the context where it's talking about his wrath, all these things, the way how we would view that within the apostolic traditions, anyways, I can't speak for Protestants, it would be a matter of anything that is good, anything that is a grace, that is comfort, is from God. And if we're experiencing God's wrath, it's not God's anger, God's pissed at us. It is a matter of he is withdrawing that comfort. He's withdrawing one of these things that makes life bearable. And if it is something that is disciplinary, that would help us realign and look back at him appropriately, that's what that would be doing. So whenever we hear about him doing this stuff, it's not God is putting forth evil on us, because evil is not a thing. Goodness is a fire, and where that fire is not present, that is darkness. The absence of that goodness is what evil is. And the devil may come forward and occupy that space, but God does not put forward evil upon us. So I just want to make sure I make that point. I am the man who has seen affliction under the rod of his wrath. He has driven and brought me into darkness without any light. Surely against me he turns his hand again and again the whole day long. He has made my flesh and my skin waste away. He has broken my bones. He has besieged and enveloped me with bitterness and tribulation. He has made me dwell in darkness like the dead of long ago. He has walled me about so that I can escape. I cannot escape. He has made my chains heavy. Though I call and cry for help, he shuts out my prayer. He has blocked my ways with blocks of stones. He has made my paths crooked. He is a bear lying in wait for me, a lion in hiding. He turned aside my steps and tore me to pieces. He has made me desolate. He has bent his bow and set me as a target for his arrow. He drove into my kidneys the arrow of his quiver. I have become the laughingstock of all people, the object of their taunts all day long. He has filled me with bitterness. He has sated me with wormwood. He has made my teeth grind on gravel and made me cower in ashes. My soul is bereft of peace. I have forgotten what happiness is. So I say, my endurance is perished. so has my hope from the Lord. Remembering my affliction and my wanderings, the wormwood and the gall, my soul continually remembers it and is bowed down within me. But this I call to mind, therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. It is good for a man that he bear the yoke in his youth. Let him sit alone in silence when it is laid on him. Let him put his mouth in the dust. There may yet be hope. Let him give his cheek to the one who strikes. Let him be filled with insults. For the Lord will not cast off forever, but though he cause grief, he will have compassion according to the abundance of his steadfast love. For he does not afflict from his heart or grieve the children of men. So, if you ever have suffering, if you ever have difficulty, I think it's extremely, extremely important to look at yourself and recognize those difficulties are not, they're not everything. Perhaps they are a trial, which sounds like, some atheist would maybe hear that and say, that sounds manipulative. You're trying to make somebody think, oh, God's good to you, so things are good. Things aren't going great, so that's good for you. Heads you win, tails you lose. That type of thing. The fact of the matter is, if there is a God, who's the God of all flesh, God of humanity, God of the whole world, God of all goodness, and when the world is created, it was made from nothing, from a clean slate. He brought something into the world, and where he did not bring something, that isn't evidence of evil, or that he has put into the world. That is a darkness that is there to serve a purpose. I recently explained at a meeting that I was at recently about the idea of the difficulties of evil, and I said, well, what is a flawless painting? What is a painting that has no darkness to it? It's white. There's nothing there. Now, what can that look like elsewhere? If you're in heaven and there's an absence of bad, it's not saying everything is white, but it's something that is so transcendent beyond anything our minds could comprehend. Even the idea of, the poetic language of streets of gold and those things, that's not going to quite hit the way that that we would truly believe that heaven would be. I mean, as we stand, life will have difficulty. It will, and accepting that difficulty as a means to center us and focus us towards what we're supposed to. Suffering is not bad. Mortification, a willingness to endure difficulty, to acknowledge that comfort is not what God is. Comfort comes from God, and love from God is greater than any earthly comfort that we could have, which I think is absolutely beautiful and absolutely important. Like I said, I didn't plan this out. I just kind of knew, hey, I'm driving by the church. I'm going to pull over here, pray for a second, and let this be known. So if that made sense, cool. If it didn't, sorry for wasting 9 minutes of your time. But other than that, thanks be to God. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His steadfast love endures forever. Have a good one.